Hey, welcome back. I'm Jared Johnson, ready to share some more provocative thinking about building the healthcare of tomorrow. If you're just now joining us, we hope you'll follow us and check out our previous episodes, all 200 of them. We're in season 7, where we're writing the consumer health playbook and answering 3 important questions. Who will design it? What will it look like? And how long will it take? Let us know what you think about this episode and what topics you're dying to hear about in future episodes by reaching out on LinkedIn or Twitter at HealthcareRap. So here's what's going to go down today. We have the flavor of the week about heads in beds. What would it be like if we eliminate this phrase from hospitals' business strategies? I'll talk about that. Then hold on to your meta hats, people. Michael Kaldasch and Ben El Idrissi are in the house to share some provocative thinking about Web 3 in healthcare. Michael and Ben are the founders of Aimedis, a novel healthcare ecosystem that includes the world's first healthcare metaverse and the first medical and scientific NFT marketplace. Don't worry, we're going to talk about what all that means, how it works, and why consumers should care about it. If you've been wondering about Web 3.0 and what it means for healthcare, hang on and we'll explain everything. It's time to dive right in. Are you ready? Let's go. Flavor of the week. Is it the elephant in the room or the albatross around our necks? I don't know how widespread it's known that heads in beds is a phrase that hospital and health system administrators use to describe one of their core business goals: inpatient or overnight stays. It's no surprise that it costs a lot to stay overnight at a hospital. It's less known that hospitals have built their business strategies around it for decades. It's easy to see how this can be frustrating for consumers. It can feel like a hospital doesn't always have your best interest at heart if you know that they make a higher multiple of revenue each night that you stay in the facility. Heads in beds is the status quo of hospital business strategy, so any attempts to change it from value-based models to the retailification of primary care are generally met with resistance. It's an albatross around the neck of would-be change agents. It's an anchor weighing down attempts to fly. It's gravity keeping the rocket from leaving the atmosphere. It's also one reason that retail brands can offer such consumer-first health offerings, because heads in beds is not one of their core business goals. Now, the status quo is slowly starting to change. Not everyone wants to see more patients stay overnight. Many clinicians do everything they can to treat conditions and get patients home as soon as possible. But if one of the questions that we need to ask more often is how long will it take, then it's fair to ask how might we accelerate the transition away from a heads in beds strategy to something that incentivizes fewer overnight stays. Sound familiar? Maybe it's because this concept of disruption through business model innovation has been around for more than a decade. Clayton Christensen wrote about it in The Innovator's Prescription, which was first published in 2009. In it, Christensen, along with his co-authors Dr. Jason Huang and the late Dr. Jerome Grossman, described the disruption of healthcare institutions through business model innovation. They said that as medicine shifts from intuitive to empirical to precision-based, many healthcare executives are leveraging new technologies and business models to transition an increasing number of services moving downhill, meaning that less complicated hospital procedures and treatments move to specialty hospitals, then to ambulatory care centers, then to outpatient clinics, primary care clinics, retail clinics, and what they referred to at the time as web-based visits. At that point, we may not be talking about overnight stays anymore, but for the most part, we're still talking about visit-based care. More recently, Zaina Kayat discussed the broken business models of healthcare on Experience Friday Live with Mofi's Sean Nason. Zaina is the Vice President of Client Success and Growth at Teladoc Health in Canada, explained that when the business model is broken, you can do 2 things. You can go out of business, or you can recenter or reestablish the business model. She shared that figuring out how healthcare can evolve beyond the visit-based, facility-based system is what she and many others are trying to solve. So wherever you are in that process, wherever your institution is on the spectrum of business model innovation, we should all embrace opportunities to do what's best for consumers long before they become patients. Fewer inpatient stays is a good thing. It means that consumers have fewer health issues that require intervention. Business models need to reflect that. The status quo is hard to change, but it will be worth the fight, because healthcare is going to look a lot different than it looks today, and a lot more of it's going to take place outside of a hospital bed. Let's see how quickly we can eliminate heads in beds from the business strategy vernacular entirely. That's another way that we'll build the healthcare of tomorrow. And that's the flavor of the week. The flow. All right, let's get into the flow here. Give it up for Michael Kaldasch. Michael's a founder and CEO at Aimedis. They're a novel healthcare ecosystem that includes the world's first healthcare metaverse. Yeah, you heard that right. We're going to talk about what that means. Part of their ecosystem is the first medical and scientific NFT marketplace. Yes, you heard that right. Also, we're going to talk about what that means. But Michael's in the house here to share some provocative thinking about the healthcare metaverse. What does that mean? How does it work? And why should consumers and patients care about it? So, Michael, say hello and tell us something that gets you out of bed in the morning.
Hi, Jared. So, thank you very much for the introduction. So, I'm Michael. I'm the CEO and founder of Aimedis. You said I'm originally a doctor, come from a hospital, and also been into the pharmaceutical industry, and decided to go into medtech and e-health and metaverse due to the fact that there are so many issues in healthcare all around the world, and COVID even has shown how important change is, and that's why Aimedis came out of this. What drives me and it makes me get up in the morning. So it's, every day I want to proceed and want to do something new, and I want to explore something differently. So I'm not into that everyday 9-to-5 business, but like to do new things and develop new ideas with my partners and friends. And so that's what motivates me. And I hope that I can make healthcare better and help people all over the world to get better access to healthcare and equalize a little bit more than it is today.
I love it. Also with us today is Ben El Idrissi. Ben's the founder and COO at Aimedis, so he and Michael are partners there. Ben, same question. If you want to say hello and tell us something that gets you out of bed in the morning.
Hi, thanks for having me. Yeah, what gets me out of bed in the morning? Daylight generally. Actually, I think, as Michael said, I think we as doctors, we think that there are a lot of challenges in healthcare. We want to be part of the transformation within healthcare to, towards something better for patients, for doctors as well. So generally, that's, I think, what we like, the challenge in this space. And there are a lot of challenges.
What are one or two of those challenges in particular that led you to get into the metaverse space? And then we'll talk about what work you're doing there. But first, what challenges in particular led you to explore this space?
One of the major issues in healthcare, and it's not only about the metaverse, but one of the major aspects there is communication. Communication between people, between patients and doctors and caregivers. That's a big issue, and it's becoming a bigger issue more and more, because the population is growing older and is growing more, and there are not enough hospitals in some areas and not enough doctors, and people don't have general access to healthcare. But a lot of people, or almost all people, do have smartphones and do have a connection to the internet, and now in 2022 and already in the last years. So this is the perfect tool for making people, for giving people access to healthcare. So the communication is a problem, and the availability of services. Because when we talk about areas maybe like Manhattan or Berlin or Amsterdam, when you need a doctor, when you need some help, there is help everywhere, anytime, basically, most of the time. But when we speak about other parts of the world or even rural areas in the Western countries, then you already have an issue. So the availability of services is a big thing. And there have been a lot of examinations in the last years that showed that a lot of things can be solved via healthcare in the internet, via e-health services and service offers in the virtual space. That's what mainly focuses us on this service.
Interesting. Ben, any more to add on that? Would you agree to that?
Definitely. I mean, healthcare is, most people just consider it to be a part of, the industry's infrastructure in a country or in a region, maybe globally. Actually, it's way more than that. It's how you define a society in terms of how civilized a society is, right? Healthcare is something that it's a substantial need for every person that lives in a society. So it is so important that it is not easily comparable to other industries on the one hand side. On the other side, you have to include it into business processes, into the markets to make it run, right? So actually we have, I would say, two components within healthcare that somehow don't work with each other seamlessly. Now that we bring in technology, we help kind of connect those fields together and allow healthcare to be part of both systems, to help patients have the best services, the best outcomes, to allow better efficiency in workflows for professionals, and at the same time, give it a space in the markets that don't kind of limit services and accessibility for the patient at the end. Because if you see, there are so many situations where we have realized that when you, as for example, I mean, the US is quite well known for very expensive healthcare, right? This is due to the infrastructure, of course. This is due to limited accessibility. This is due to a lot of stakeholders in the game and a lot of intermediaries. That's, of course, something that is still well, developed in the US, kind of, but it is limiting to the access of healthcare. It is not available for everyone, even in the US. We want to support systems that can, on the one hand side, be profitable for companies and professionals. On the other side, really include everyone out there.
But what is very important about that